Alright, so here we are in our level. So we're going to go ahead and step through this area here. And once we step through this area, you guys are going to see a very familiar jump scare that was used back in the original Amnesia Dark Descent. And let's go ahead and walk through. And there he is, good old Flying Jesus, back in Amnesia Rebirth to scare a few more people. Hey guys, it's Techo Freak here, and welcome to episode 29 of my custom story creation tutorial for Amnesia Rebirth. And today we're going to be talking about prop and player force. So we're going to be talking about how to apply force to the player in any direction you desire, and also apply force to any object in your level, any entity specifically. We'll also talk about how to apply force to a door to get it to like swing open, since it's a little bit different from doing the regular force. So we'll be doing that. We're actually going to be doing something pretty fun today. We're going to be trying to recreate the if you've played the original Amnesia, and especially custom stories, you'll be familiar with Flying Jesus, I believe is what it used to be called, where it's like a ragdoll corpse just flying down the hallway with his arms and like T-pose. It was a pretty funny thing back in the day. It's a meme thing to do in your custom stories. So we're going to be recreating that in Amnesia Rebirth today. And the reason why is because it'll be a good way to teach you guys how to use like player force, or not player force, to teach you guys how to do entity force, add a force to any entity in your levels. So gonna be fun stuff. So definitely a fun one. And before I go ahead and get started, I do want to mention I did just create a Discord for the channel here, where you guys can go and join up and kind of just stay informed on anything going on, ask any questions, submit any Q&A questions that you want to be seen in future episodes, and just hang out and chat and stuff. So if you actively work on custom stories and you want to get better and ask questions and talk to other people in the community, let's try and build up the Discord here and see if we can get a bunch of people to join up and start chatting up in there and helping everybody, and that way we can just all help each other out with this kind of stuff. So definitely join that. I'll be putting a link in the description, and I'll be putting the link in some of my other videos as well, so you could look for it there. So definitely go there. I'll be happy to have you guys join and chat it up in the Discord. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So first thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and do how to apply player force. And then after that, we're gonna relaunch your game, and we'll show you guys how to do the door applying the force on the door. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with the flying Jesus, applying entity force to an object. All right, so first thing we want to do, we don't really need to do anything here at the moment, at least not until we start doing the Flying Jesus stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and go into our Code Light application first. Before we do that though, I want to explain something here for those that might have not seen videos prior. So this here, we have a collide callback area. So if you go under areas, we have a trigger area here, and what we do is we have a collide callback on this trigger area that calls a function in our script. So if we go to area here and under collide callback, when the player interacts with this area here, we call a function in our script file called onCollide player trigger 1. And if we go over to our Code Light application, we can see it right here, onCollide player trigger 1. And this pretty much calls any kind of functions we want when the player steps in this area. We check to see if alt state equals 1. If it's equal to 1, that means that the player just entered the area. If it's equal to -1, then that means the player left the area. Or if it's equal to 0. But we only care when the player enters the area. So when the player enters the area, which would be an alt state of 1, then we run some code here, and we just pretty much ignore. For else, we just return false. And returning false pretty much says that when we execute this here, we don't want to execute it again. Just execute it once and return false, so that it doesn't run this callback again after it runs once. So yeah, so that's pretty much that, and we're gonna be putting something in here to do. So we can probably clear out some of this junk we had from previous episodes here, just to have a clean working area here. So yeah, so when the player enters here, we're gonna do something. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna go ahead and apply force to the player. So let me zoom you guys in so you guys can see a little better, and let's bring down the bar right here so you guys can see a lot better too. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and apply force to the player. We're just gonna send the player in one direction with a lot of force, just so we can visually see that it works properly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do player underscore add body force. You can see it right here. If we hit enter, first you have to put in the vector that the direction of the force is going to be in. So we're going to type in C vector 3F, and then we're going to do an open and close parentheses here. And then here it's going to be an XYZ coordinate as to the amount of force you want to apply to the player. So like, for example, X, Y, and Z here. This would be, 0X, 0Y, and 0 Z force. So we can specify what direction we want to apply the force. If you want to go opposite, you put a negative number. So let's to get that, we're going to go ahead and open up our level editor here. So what I want to do is I want to send the player in this direction here. So I'll just grab some random item and just kind of move it in that direction. So there's our XYZ here. If we move it in that direction, you can see what goes up is the X. So we want to put a positive. We want to put a positive X here when we put force on the player. So it looks like a positive X. So let's go ahead and undo that, just to undo that. And now we're going to go ahead and go back into our CodeLight application here. So we want to apply a positive X. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and right here put in a number to apply a positive X, of course. So we're going to do, you need a good amount to actually notice it pretty well. Of course, it comes down to how much you need. I'm going to put 100,000, so it's pretty obvious. Of course, you can put as much as you feel you need. And we're going to do 0 for the Y and 0 for the Z. And then we're going to go ahead and do comma, space, and then we got to put one more variable in here. And I'll bring up the function here again so you guys can see what it's asking here. So we'll do add player force, and you can see use local coordinates. So what this will do, the XYZ here will be relative to the player's rotation. So if the player is looking in one direction, like let's say the player is looking towards the Z axis, that is the player's X axis from his point of view. So then you apply force in a different direction. So pretty much if the player is looking in a specific way, you're going to apply force relative to the direction he's looking rather than according to the map. But if you put false here, then you're adding the force relative to the world and not the player. So that's what we want. We want to know exactly where we're going to be pushing the player. In whatever cases that you might need it to be relative to the player's actual rotation, like where he's looking, then you can go ahead and apply it. Set this to true. But in our case, we're going to want false. So we're going to go ahead and just put in false here. So we'll type that in, false. And then we've got to close it out with a semicolon here. So that's that. That's pretty much done. That's pretty much ready to test. But what we're going to do now is we're going to test. We're going to also do the swing door open. So we can actually apply any amount of force we want to a swing door. So this is a swing door here. And what we can do is we can push it open and apply any number of impulses to the door. So that'll make more sense in a second, but let's go ahead and bring up the function here that we need to run. So we're gonna type in swing door, and we're gonna do push open. So from what I've noticed, if you use push, you can use push, or you can use this one too. I find that this one is much more simpler, the push open. So I'm going to use this one here, and we're going to put the name of the door. So the name of our door is door 1, and we're going to do comma space. And now this is the amount of force we're going to apply to the door. So I would recommend you guys play a lot around with this. I find that just applying force one time doesn't get the door all the way open, and you have to apply force rapidly in a few times. And again, you guys can mess around with it, but I'll show you what numbers worked good for me, at least for the door I'm using. So I'm doing an impulse of 10, an impulse amount of 10. Number of impulses is going to be 3, so I'm going to apply 3 impulses, 3 pushes of force that are of 10 magnitude. And then we're going to do time between pushes. We don't want there to be any delay, so we're just going to put 0.0 here. And we'll close it out with a semicolon, of course. So what this will do is this will apply a force of 10 to door 1 in 3 impulses, so 3 impulses of 10. And then it will separate those impulses by 0 seconds. So it will just do 3 straight impulses of 10 in rapid succession. So that's what's going to happen there. And just to show you guys the name of the door, this is door 1 right here, as you can see, and that's the one we're using. And it's not locked right now, so that we don't have any problems with it being locked. Where would it be? So it'd be right here. So if it was locked, it'd be right here, or blocked. So I would recommend, if you're going to apply force to one of these, you know, unlock it first before you apply the force. I haven't tested it if with it having been locked. My guess is that it won't work, but it might. It'd be worth the test. With that, where we can test this, I don't want to test them both simultaneously here. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to comment out the swing door, and we're only going to test the player body force first. Then we're going to reload the game, and then we're going to go ahead and try the swing door. So let's go ahead and launch up our game now and check it out. All right, here we are back in our level. So we're going to go ahead and step into the area here. Once we step in there, we should get an amount of force applied to us. So let's go ahead and step in there. And boom, we just get launched forward in the positive X direction as we specified relative to the world. If let's say, remember I was saying that if we set that option to not be false and rather be true, it will be relative to the player's direction. So if we were to do that same thing, and let's say we come in here and we walk backwards into this, and we set the same amount, an X of 100,000, and we walk back like this, we'll actually get flung forward this way relative to the direction we're looking. So our positive X is the direction that we're looking. So if we're looking this way, when we step in the zone or wherever, we'll be launched that way or that way relative to the player's position. So that's how that works. Now let's go ahead and relaunch it. Let's enable that push open and relaunch the game and check it out again. All right, so here we are back in our level. So now I've disabled the player force. So we're not gonna have any player force applied, and I've enabled that that swing door push open function. So now when we step through this area here, that door should just go ahead and swing open. So let's go ahead and walk through and watch it. And boom, there it goes, swung right open. If you don't want it to bounce back so hard, you might want to put less force. But yeah, I feel that those are good numbers to use. The 10 force, 3 impulses with a 0 second delay. But I encourage you guys to play around with it yourself, see what works best for you guys. Of course, what works best for me might not be what works best for you. Do try it out. But for this door, at least, it seems that works. But if the door was bigger or smaller, if you resized it, then you might need a different amount of force. But yeah. So with that, let's go ahead and go back to our script, and now let's talk about the meat of the video, doing the flying Jesus, which I think is going to be very fun. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here we are back in our CodeLight application. So just to show you guys what we did, we disabled the player add body force, and we enabled the swing door push open. We're gonna go ahead and disable the swing door push open as well now. And we're just gonna leave these both commented out, because now we're gonna do the flying Jesus thing, and we're gonna show you guys how to apply prop force, force to any entity in your level. Let's go ahead and open up our level editor, and let's go ahead and place in what's going to be our flying Jesus. So what we're going to do, we're going to place a corpse here. So let's go ahead and go into entities. I'm going to search up corpse. And specifically, what we want to look for are corpses that say corpse, sand mummy, ragdoll. Of course, this could be any object, doesn't have to be a corpse. I'm doing flying Jesus just because anybody who's played the original Amnesias will probably remember, you know, seeing a flying naked corpse fly across and T-pose, and you know, it used to be a meme back in the day, and I think it's really cool, and I think it'd be really cool to recreate it. But you could do the same thing with a bottle. If you just want to make a bottle fly off a shelf and smash into the wall, you can do the same thing here. No need to follow this exact thing. But what I'm looking for is a corpse that has underscore ragdoll at the end, which means that it has ragdoll physics. If you've used any of the corpses, you might notice that some of them, when you place them in the level and you load up the level, they'll stay stiff, standing in exact position you left them. They won't actually ragdoll. So specifically, I'm looking for the ragdoll one. And it's going to be this one here that I'm going to be using for demonstration. And I'm going to go ahead and put them right here. And let's go ahead and grid snap here, and let's rotate them forward facing towards the player here. So what we want is we want this corpse to go flying in the player's direction once the player steps into this collide area here. Of course, we want them to be to not be active yet, but we'll get to that in a second. So we'll go ahead and grab them. We'll go ahead and lift them up a little bit off the ground here. So I think that's pretty good off the ground. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pose him. So I want to put him in a T-pose as it was before. So I did show you guys posing when we posed in the Fear episode, when we posed this guy over here. So we're pretty much going to do the same thing there. And the way we do that, we just click pose right here. Let me actually give it a name before we give it a pose. Let's just call it Jesus_1. And then let's go ahead and hit ... here. Or not ... we hit pose right here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab his arm, so his left arm right here, and we're gonna hit rotate here, and we're gonna go ahead and bring the guy up right here, and we'll grab his other arm, and we'll do the same exact thing. We'll bring it up right here. So there he is in his open T-pose position, and he's getting ready to get flying towards the player. So we want to save the pose. So we're going to hit save right here. And there we go. We have it all in and everything. Now we don't want him to be active right off the bat. We want to set him active when we're going to fly him towards the player. So we're going to set him to be inactive right now. So he's currently just, you know, invisible to the player pretty much. He's not active. And that's pretty much all we need to do in our level for right now. Again, we're going to use the same area right here, the same collide area that we did for the first one, to make this guy go flying at you. So now let's go ahead and go to our code light application, and let's go ahead and show you guys what we're going to do here. So when the player enters the collide area, what we want to do first is make sure that the flying Jesus is active. So we're going to say entity underscore set active, and we're going to put his name in, Jesus_1, and then we're going to put comma space, and we're going to say true. So true is saying that yes, we want him to be active right now. With that, we have him active, and now the command to apply the force. Of course, this can be on any object, any entity that's not static. So you don't have to just use it for Jesus, but you can feel free to use it for whatever you want. But in this case, of course, flying Jesus, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do entity, and we're going to say add force. So we're going to add a force to the entity, and you can see all the values that we're gonna want here. So let's go ahead and hit enter, and we're going to go ahead and type these in here. And let me actually zoom you guys in here. And yeah, so let me retype it so you guys can see the full command here. Yeah, so first is the entity name. So this is going to be Jesus_1, and then we're going to do comma space, and then now it's the amount of force we want to apply. And similar to the player body force that we did, applying player force to the body, we're going to do the same thing pretty much. We're going to apply a vector, so it's a C vector 3F with parentheses here, and then now you're going to need your XYZ coordinates. So we established that direction. We'll just run it over again. This direction is the positive X direction, as you can see right here where it's changing. So that means that the opposite way is the negative X direction. So we're going to apply a negative X force to the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to do I've calculated it to be best at -1000, but it all depends on what object it is. So you might want to try out different numbers, but I'm applying a force of -1000 in the a force of 1000 in the -x direction, and then we're going to put no force for any other direction. So we'll do 0, 0. And now the next two values here. So let me bring up the function here again, so we can just go through the function again. So local space, again, this is the same. This is pretty much the same as the player rotation. This one would apply the force relative to the direction that the entity is facing. You know, if the corpse is looking in one direction, that says positive X, so the force would be applied relative to the rotation of the entity. In our case, again, we just want to do it relative to the world. In whatever case you might need, that might need the rotation, set it to true and apply the force accordingly. But in our case, we want to apply it to according to the world. We know what direction we want it to fly, so we're going to set it to false here, and then I'll explain this last one. Only main body. This applies force to either only the main body or all bodies in the entity, and I'll explain that in a second. Let's just go back here and take it one step at a time here. So, like I said, we're going to put false for the relative coordinates. So we want it to be associated with the maps coordinates, not with the local coordinates of the entity. Then we're going to do comma space, and now for this one, we're going to put false. And the reason for it, so it's going to apply force to the main body or all the bodies. So, for example, a corpse is composed of multiple body parts that are kind of like stitched together to make the full body, the full entity. Some entities might have multiple pieces kind of like jointed together and stuff. For example, just like the corpse. So, if you only want to apply force to the biggest part of the entity, you would put true here. So, if for example we set this to true, the force will be applied on the chest of the corpse, but all his limbs won't get any force. It will just be his chest, and so his chest will fly forward, and his arms will kind of just fall behind them. We do want that. We want him to fly evenly across the air in his T pose. So what we do is we set this to false to make it so that every limb of his body, every joint that he has, gets applied force equally across the whole thing. So the force is distributed equally across the entire body. So this 1000 force, this -1000 in the X direction, will be applied across every joint in his body rather than just his main body, which would be the chest. And this I would play with if you're going to play with this. I think I would set this to false to start. If you're not getting the desired effects, maybe change it to true. But you guys can mess around with it, see what you prefer. In this specific scenario with the Flying Jesus, false is the best, since there are a lot of joints that are connected to make this corpse. So this is going to be false. And that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and close it out with a semicolon. And with all that, we're pretty much set to go ahead and launch up our game. Let's make sure that we have our mod saved, our level editor saved, and it looks like our map is saved, so we're good to launch it. So let's go ahead and launch it and check it out now. Alright, so here we are back in our level. So again, there you go, you can't see them. So once we go ahead and step through this collide area here, that body is going to come flying right at us in his T-pose phase, right at us, just like it did back in the original Amnesia. So let's go ahead and try it out. And there he goes, flies right at him. His limbs got a little crippled there. He doesn't quite like being flown like that. But yeah, there it is. That's how you do the Flying Jesus in Amnesia Rebirth. Of course, you can feel free to not do a corpse and do anything else you rather do. That's not a corpse. You could do a bottle smashing into the wall to make it seem like some kind of supernatural phenomenon or something like that. You can apply it to anything really, a basket, a hammer, any objects. So have fun with that. Another fun thing to work on. This is going to be a build up to working on doing some puzzles. I think we're going to start with a basic puzzles video. or you kind of just do a very simple puzzle in our level, and then kind of take it from there. I'm thinking maybe the puzzle will be something as simple as like finding a sledgehammer and then like breaking down a door. So you know, something like that is what I think. I don't know if that's going to be the next episode or not. I'll have to think about it. I've been uncertain of what episodes to do for the next, or what next episodes to do. So I've been kind of leaving it to the last moment to decide these. But yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Don't forget to check out my Discord. I just started it as of this episode. I'll put the link in the description. So make sure you guys go on there, check it out. Ask your questions there if you have questions, and you know, I'll be on there and I'll be able to answer your questions from time to time. So and yeah, and you'll also get to talk with others in the community that are working on doing the same things, you know, creating custom stories and stuff. So definitely go over there, check it out, and see what that's all about. And with that, make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave a comment if you have any questions or any suggestions, and you know, check out the Discord as well if you want to make suggestions there as well. And leave a like on the video, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.